Hey everybody, welcome back to Tenza Motorsports. As many of you may know, we took the wagon, the S54 swapped wagon, down to a Maaco paint shop to get some body work done and get it painted from black to white. And today I want to talk about my experience going to Maaco. First off, they were extremely accommodating. We actually went and took the car down, and it was close to a holiday, and the owner was actually closing the shop slightly early and stayed over so that the car could be delivered because we were bringing it a little bit later than what they were going to originally have their shop closed for that day for the holiday the next day. So customer service was fantastic. He looked the car over and told us roughly what it was going to cost, and like we showed in previous videos and talked about, was this car did have some body damage, which was probably going to be the primary reason of us taking it somewhere else, because I don't know how to do that, and I don't know anybody here locally that does that kind of stuff that would be willing to help me out. Most of my local body shops are busy doing insurance claims. They're so busy they wouldn't even touch the car. They wouldn't even talk to me about it. So we took it down to Maaco and had them do the whole thing, body work and paint. So the good things, we'll talk about the pros. The pros were there was really good communication between the store and I. Didn't have any problems with that, and the body work turned out looking absolutely great. One of the other things that we did before we took the car down there was roll the fenders, and we did it really aggressive. So on these BMWs, it kind of goes at an angle and then goes flat, and that flat section on the back was rolled out, and that way we could get these bigger wheels and tires from the M3 to fit onto this non-M car. So the exterior of the car actually had been modified because of the fender rolling that we did, how aggressive we had to be with it. And they went through and cleaned all that up on both sides as well. So you had both the fenders, and then we had quite a bit of body damage on the passenger side in the rear, and then the passenger rear door had a little bit of body damage on it. And they went through and cleaned up all of that, and it looks absolutely fantastic. The other pro that I'm seeing here is that the paint is good paint. It's high quality paint, and they put plenty of clear coat on it, which is good, and we'll get back to that topic later. Some of the downsides, I don't think that they shot this in their booth. There was lots of fish eyes. There was actually little chunks of metal in the paint. And based on my personal experience with painting cars, because we did this one and we'll talk about that one as well a little bit later, it looked like they shot it in the middle of their shop. I don't think this was taken into a paint booth. So they did all that work with the body damage, made that look all real nice, got the car all prepped and ready to go, and then they must have not have shot it in a booth. There's just no way, unless the booth was extremely dirty. So I wasn't super happy with that. Obviously, being from Maaco, there's going to be orange peel and things like that, which we were able to get a lot of that out. And that didn't really bother me that much because I know you can clean up and smooth out some orange peel. When I first got the car, I was really frustrated because it looked like it had a lot of orange peel on it, but I actually compared it to a newer car. We've got a Honda here that is a 2021, and the orange peel from that Honda to this car here, this car really doesn't have that much more orange peel than a brand new Honda. Now, I do want to mention something that we found was pretty crazy, and this is one of the reasons why BMWs from the factory are so much more expensive. One of the things is the paint. So we have here a 2021 white Honda, and you can see how much orange peel is in it compared to a 2014 BMW X3. So yeah, the car had a lot of orange peel, but again, we were able to get a lot of that cleaned up. I did have to spend money getting it cut and buffed. When it got back up here, I had a local detailer come by and cut and buff the car, and we cleaned up a ton of the fish eyes and the orange peel. So it actually looks really good right now, but I'm still just a little bit frustrated that it turned out like that. The other thing that we saw was that there were parts of the car that just hadn't been shot very well. Inside the door handles, especially on the driver's side, the actual frame of the car comes all the way down and around underneath the doors, and they just didn't shoot that. They didn't do a very good line in the door seals, so I did have to do some cleaning up. I bought a couple cans of paint, some color match. This is a Ford YZ white, the Oxford white, so this is a very common color. It's a very bright color, which is why we picked this white over like a BMW, like the Alpine white. I don't feel as bright as this car. So it is good they put a lot of clear coat, because we were able to take 3,000 and 2,500 grit sandpaper to it and clean a whole bunch of the imperfections and the orange peel out of it. Now, this car here, I've mentioned I think a few times, this was actually painted with spray paint, the whole thing by hand by me. Basically what I did was I took each part individually, I stripped a bunch of the car, and I sanded it and I painted it and I wet sanded it, painted it, wet sanded it, painted it, clear coated it. I'm in this whole car right here just over $250 with paint, clear coat, and supplies. I've been kind of keeping an eye on how much I spend painting it. And what's really nice about this is every time a panel gets damaged or every time I replace a piece, so like let's say if I did a different hood, I could just buy that same white from the store and then do it myself. I don't have to rely on a paint code that I might not be able to get a hold of or rely on a shop. And so that's what's been really nice about this car here, but I was able to get a better finish on this car than the Maaco car when it came back. There was so much stuff stuck in that paint where I had wet sanded this a bunch. It's really kind of frustrating that I was able to get a better look out of this with just painting it at home with spray paint than Maaco can do with this car here. Now, one of the things you can see here is that the paint on this doesn't have a ton of clear coat, and it's actually starting to fade pretty bad. This car has been painted for about 6 or 7 years. It hasn't spent a ton of time in the sun. Most of it's been inside. I didn't clear coat it the best, but there's no fisheyes. There's no chunks of dirt and hair and metal stuck in the paint like the one from Maaco was. So overall, I am happy with the car. I do think the paint looks good. I was just really frustrated when I got the car back and there was so much stuff in the paint or the clear coat. I really don't think that they painted it in their booth, which is frustrating to me. We spent $2,300 painting the car. That's with tax and everything like that. And then I did have to spend another $700 getting the car cut and buffed. Went over the whole entire thing and made sure it looks really good. When we got the car back originally, it was a 20-foot car. If you were standing 20 feet away from it, even when it's not moving, it looked great. It wasn't really until you started getting up on the car that you started to see things. And now that we've kind of gone through and I fixed some spots where they sprayed it lightly or didn't spray it at all or didn't tape off very well, and then with the cut and buff, you can get up really close to this car before you start to see things. And you add the sun to it because it's white, being outside, it's even less obvious, some of the imperfections in the paint. And that's one of the reasons why we did white. I would never have done black and taken it to a cheap shop. Black is probably the worst color to try to keep clean and nice while you're painting it and afterwards. But if you do a black car and it comes out bad, it looks absolutely horrible. White is probably one of the most forgiving, if not the most forgiving colors when it comes to imperfections in the paint. So overall, I am decently happy. If you had $1,000 and you need to paint your car, it's probably not a bad solution to do unless you want to do a lot of your own manual labor and do it yourself. If you have about $1,000 or so and you're not really worried about the paint, you can prep it for Maaco, and that kind of helps them out with the price and makes the paint look better. 95% of doing paint is the actual prep itself, taping, all that fun stuff. Painting the car is really just a small portion of it. But if everything leading up to the paint job itself wasn't done right, that's where you're going to see it's going to get exponentially worse as you go further on down the road, and not painting in a paint booth, obviously. So I feel pretty neutral about Maaco. I think that you can get quality products done there. I would just be really careful. If you have a super low budget and you're not looking for an expensive paint job, then don't worry about it. If you're trying to do something like this, I probably would have taken the money we spent at Maaco, the money we spent cutting and buffing, and the money we spent painting the trim, and put it all together and taken it to a shop and just dropped it off and go from there, because they probably would have done better instead of doing projects individually and trying to fix what Maaco had or hadn't done. Now, if you're just doing a race car, don't worry about it. Like, just take it to Maaco. It's not a big deal. I'm not worried about with this car. I don't know if many of you know, but there's actually body damage on the side of this car, and I'm just not worried about it. It's a race car. If somebody's gonna point out the body damage, I don't really care that much, but on a daily driver where you want it to look nice, where you want that really nice, good clear coat and stuff like that, I would probably take it somewhere a little bit different than Maaco. So thanks everybody so much for watching. Hopefully this helped you make up your mind whether you're gonna do a Maaco job, do it yourself, or take it to a different shop. We've got a ton of projects coming up this summer. You'll be seeing a lot more of this car. We've got another project car coming hopefully soon. And the wagon is basically done at this point. There's a couple little things to iron out. So we'll be taking that for a drive and hopefully a dyno soon. So thanks again so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's content, hit the like button, subscribe if you are new. Check out our Patreon, link in the description below. Also check out our merch, have that in the link in the description below as well. Any comments or questions, leave them down in the comment section below. I'll do my best to reply and answer your questions. Thanks again. We'll see you in the next video.